beautiful people, how you all doing? My name is Bilikis and you're welcome back to my channel. First thing, I need to say thank you to you guys because I was really flattered when I woke up to a lot of birthday wishes. It was just, I don't know what to say. All I have to say is a very big thank you to you all. A lot of emails. You are just wonderful. All I have to say is I love you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I thank you for your support, because without your support there won't be Bilikis Signatures. So thank you to everyone. So please, you can follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovations. So today's tutorial will be on how to make a headband with bow in front of it, and trust me, it's going to be very, very beautiful. I'm showing you the fabric I'll be making use of. I have these two fabric here. I have the main fabric and then the satin, because it's going to be a satin headband. So this is the fabric and then this is the satin I'll be making use of. Though this is quite light compared to all other African print fabric, so that is why if you have a fleece at home, it could be a fusible fleece. The one I have here is extremely light and non-fusible, but if you are making use of the thick type of African print fabric, you can use the paper interfacing, the lightest one, popularly called paper stay, so that will be fine. But because this is quite light, I'll be making use of this fleece. So make sure you use the lightest one. Don't make use of the thick one. Like those in Nigeria, you could use wadding, although this is a bit lighter than that, or just use the paper interfacing. We are making use of the other thick African fabric, but I'll be making use of this fleece I have here just for the bow. So now let's go to the work table to get started. I have my fabric cutouts here, which I'm going to talk about the dimension. You also need your elastic band. Make sure you use the maximum of ½ an inch, though the one I have here is a bit less than ½ an inch, as you can see that. So that aside, let's go to the dimensions we have. For the headband itself, I have two fabrics cut out, the main fabric and then the satin, as you can see that. So I have a length of 42 inches. Can you see what I have? I have 42 inches in length, and in width I have 6.5 inches, as you can see. I have 6.5 in width. It is actually 6 inches. I want the wideness of the headband to be 6 inches, but we need ½ an inch to sew it up by the side, so that is why I made it 6.5. But for a small size person, you don't want to use up to 6, so it depends on how plump, slim, or if you are making it for a child, that would determine the wideness. But between 5 to 6 is okay for average women. As I've said again, 5 to 6. Then you just had ½ inch on both sides to sew it up. So have a note that now, before we start sewing, then you go to the bow, because there's a way we are going to attach the bow to the main fabric. So when cutting it, the height of the bow should be the same measurement with that of the fabric, with the width of the fabric. Remember, it is 6.5, so that means the height of this bow should be 6.5. So that's 6.5 here, because we are going to gather it a little bit when we get there, you know. So 6.5 by 5. The actual width of the bow is 5 inches, and I'm just going to take ½ inch on both sides. So here I have 5 inches by 6.5. Then for the fleece, I just have to cut it the same way, but this is totally optional. If you don't have it, there's no problem. And if you are making use of a very thick fabric, you can just make use of the paper interfacing. So have a note that, let us start sewing it up. Start sewing it up, what I'm going to do is to make sure the right side of the fabric are facing each other. As you can see, right side facing each other. Then you can just pin it down or clip it all down. And what am I going to do? All I have to do is to start sewing. I'm going to sew on both sides. ½ an inch is fine, because that was what we left. ½ an inch from the beginning here, straight down. Coming to the other side again, ½ an inch, all down. So let me do that. I've sewn it all up, as you can see, and also on the other side. So since it's ½ an inch, but if you took in half an inch, then you need to trim it up. So I'm just going to leave mine like this because I took 1/4 of an inch. That's good. What I'm going to do now is this. Since the right side were facing each other, I'm just going to bring it all out. First, I'm going to give it a good press. That's the first thing. I've given it a good press, as you can see. So this is what it looks like. Then on the other side, this is what I'm going to have, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to sew in the same thing we sew the first one. We are going to sew in half an inch on both sides. Half an inch here. Can you see from the beginning? So that will be for the elastic we'll be using. But since this is not up to half an inch, I can take in half an inch. But if you are using an elastic that is half inch in width, then you can use 3/4 of an inch to sew it all down. So I'll be sewing in half an inch on both sides. I've sewn it up, as you can see, half an inch on both sides. Looking at it, half an inch. The next thing is to insert the elastic band. How did I achieve this? I just had to pull this over my head. Make sure you stretch it out. I pulled it over my head and just, added a little extra to have about 22 or 22 and a half. Let me check. Okay, here I have 22 and a half. So that 22 and a half now, I have that twice. So 2 elastic band. The next thing is for me to insert it through this hole I have here. I'm going to pick one. So I'm going to keep inserting it. As you can see, I've inserted the elastic and I just had to pin it down at each end, as you can see that. So the last thing I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to just take it this way. Usually this is the outer part, this is the inner part. So the inner part is going to be facing each other and then the seam is going to be towards the outside. So now I'm going to take the sewing machine again to take in half an inch all down. Right now I've sewn it up and then I sew up to 3/4 inch. So I'm just going to trim it. It's quite thick. So this is what I have now. So on the wrong side, this is what I have. So this is the seam line, while on the right side, this is what we have. So the bow is going to be attached to this very part. So now let's go over to the bow. It is time for us to sew up the bow. So first, make sure the right side of the fabric are facing each other because we are going to be sewing in a box. So now this is the fleece that has been attached to one side, just one side of the fabric. What I'm going to do now is take to the sewing machine and just sew up a box. Just 1/4 of an inch is fine, very tiny. Just sew it across, sew it closed. So I'll show you how to bring it all out. This is what I have after sewing it up. Can you see? So it added some stability to it, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do now is this. I will have to separate one from each other, but make sure you separate it so well because the fleece I'm using is not fusible, and as I've said, the fleece at all is totally optional. So the fleece is not fusible, so it might be difficult for you to separate both the front and the back, but I can see through it. So now I have it separated. What I'll now do is to make a tiny slip here about 1 inch as I folded it to bring it all out. So you can either use your seam ripper to do that or your scissors. Just snap in the middle. All those parts need to be covered. So can you see that? So now I'm going to bring it out from there. So can you see? I'm going to bring it all out. Just do that gently, you won't take all the time. Looking at what I have now after removing it, this is what it looks like. So this was where I made the slits, as you can see, to bring it all out. So we have a perfect look on the outside. So with the fleece in it, it just gives it that, you know, stable effect, looking beautiful. The next thing now is to attach it to the band. Make sure the slitted part is facing the seam allowance we have here, because we want to have something like this. And you see, so beautiful. So before that, we are going to need the band, or better still, let me explain this. So placing it on it this way, I'm going to run a stitch, and you see on it, making sure the seam is underneath. I'm just going to run a stitch once this way. Then back to the bow to finish up the bow. Here I just have a strip of fabric, maybe 3 inches in width, 3 inches by, that one doesn't matter because we are going to trim it off. So this is the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to fold this way and then just sew in order. It up. I just ran 2 stitches, 1, 2, because all that is going to be hidden inside. So that is it. So on the wrong side it is nice. So the next thing I will do is this. Looking at this, I'll bring it inside out after sewing it by the side. So I'm just going to make sure the seam is in the middle, as you can see. So the next thing is to fold this part. First I'm going to fold from the middle, then fold this side a bit this way, and you see, so coming to this side you fold it a bit too. So you try to adjust it so you have something nice. So can you see? So here you can just use a thread to tie it before fixing the band on it, as you can see, or you could sew it all up. So this is what you will have. Just try to adjust it. Can you see? So I'm just going to sew it on the wrong side. Can you see? I'm just going to sew it down. So this is what I'll have. So I'm going to do that now. Right now I've sewn it, as you can see. So I'm just going to trim it off because it will be torn. See, then I'm going to turn it. Then you will see the seam whereby we join this very fabric is showing here. The reason why is because I'm going to turn this all over, so that was why I had to turn. So by the time I turn it all over, I'll be having the smooth part outside. I've turned it to the other side, so you can see I have the smooth side outside, so you can see how beautiful this looks. So on the inside, this is what I have. You can see everything is just so neat and nice. So I'm just going to retie my turban and then show you how it looks on me. The hairband we've just made, and you can see how beautiful it looks. Isn't it nice? So beautiful. Can you see? I just had to place it on my turban. So beautiful. Tutorial on how to make this hairband has been helpful. Just please give me a giant thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovations. I remain your girl, Bilikis. Bye.